Hey voters, Anthony Haslage, the internet politician here. Before I begin, do not forget to like and subscribe to keep up to date on new content. We are returning for the final time to topics from my political positions document, which can be found on my website. The website's link is in the description. Now, before we get there, I would like to thank you all who watched the entire series. I know 18 episodes, it's a lot of stuff there. Again, feel free to like and subscribe, obviously, but if you have comments, because at one point I would like to, if I haven't already, by the time you've seen this, started doing videos where I answer people's questions. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. So our next topic is near and dear to my heart. It's video games and violence. Now, since the release of the original Mortal Kombat 92, research has been conducted attempting to relate video games with violence. Every single time that there is a video game release that is considered to be ultra-violent and a subsequent violent attack occurs, anti-violence advocates attack video games as the main cause, because most of the time the only commonality between assailants is that they had played video games. The fact is, more than half of the people in our nation play video games, and only 25% of those people play video games that are violent. Shortly after Mortal Kombat was released, video games began to be rated based on content, and most companies would not sell violent video games to children. However, in many cases, parents would still purchase those video games for their underage children. Most of the violent attacks that have been associated with video games, or as a commonality, can be attributed to individuals who were underage or suffered with a history of mental disorders. They simply could not rationalize the video game's content, thus allowing for a kind of a psychic break of reality. Most research has stated that mental capability of individuals who have played either fast-paced or violent video games did experience slightly elevated levels of aggression and a small increase in adrenaline production. However, all levels returned to normal quickly as the video game players completed whatever in-game task bothered them. The short of it is that there's no statistical proof that video games cause violent behavior among the mentally competent. Parents need to be responsible for the content that they provide to their children and not blame third parties for bad decisions. As far as those with mental disorders and video games, sometimes you never know if someone has a mental disorder until the fact that they do something. But due to privacy laws, stores do not have the knowledge in advance of people making video game purchases. Because the problem we have in this society of people blaming third-party things for something that was clearly their fault because they don't want to accept responsibility. I used to work for a game company who loosely adhered to the don't sell video games to children's philosophy. I followed it to the letter. I actually had an occasion where, now, if you know anything about video games, Grand Theft Auto 5 had just come out. A little kid, he couldn't have been more than maybe 8 or 10, walks in and plops the game on the counter. And I'm like, what did you need? And he's like, oh, I want to buy this game. I'm like, I can't sell it to you. You have to be 18 or older. And he's like, I bought adult, or rated M games from this store before, and I didn't have a problem. I said, well, the rules say, the law says, you must be an adult. And he's like, so I have to go outside, get my grandmother, and drag her into the store so I can buy this video game. I was like, yeah. And he's like, okay. Walks out. I figured he's not coming back. Comes back, dragging this elderly woman in with her, or with him. And she says, my grandson says, you won't sell him a game? I said, yeah. This is rated for adults. And this game has some pretty rough stuff in it, like not let alone violence and swearing, but suggestive adult. And she was like, what? I didn't know he was getting this game. I'm like, yeah. I told her to read the back. She reads the back and her eyes go like wide open. She's like, you wanted this game. She says, slapped her grandson on the head and so you're not getting this game, and pulls him out of the store. After they walked out, me and the other person working there thought it was hilarious. We laughing. But I would hate to be someone who sold a game to a child and then to be blamed by his parents that he committed a crime and it was my fault. I know, rationally, I know it's not my fault, but I'd still feel guilty. But we move on to the next topic. As I have been on welfare a few times in my life, particularly when I was in college, it saved me and my family from living on the streets. Oh, I also forgot. My mom was going to nursing school. We were on welfare. Welfare should never be the means in which someone relies for their entire life. It should simply be a means of assist in short-term survival until a better option arise economically. Frankly, no one should be awarded so much welfare that they're able to live on it indefinitely. A few years ago, Ohio put in some limits, and during you can have it for so long, but you also have to do certain work things to keep it. And then if you don't have a job, it ends. You end up on the street otherwise. So it forces people to get up and do something instead of living on the welfare for indefinitely. The exception to this belief is when someone's received disability, survivor, retirement benefits, or whatever. Typically, that is handled by Social Security. We should not take away anyone's benefits unless they purposely forced their circumstances so that they may receive benefits. I don't like the thought, and it may not be necessarily be true now, where women who were receiving government aid were banding the system or abusing it by reproducing every year so they could just re-you up. Oh, I have a new kid. I need welfare. I can't go to work. I think the term welfare babies, which is definitely not PC, and it feels bad to say, but I don't think that is a thing we have, or at least not anymore. I mean, and it probably does exist in some limited number, but I feel like as a society we've moved away from that. But I'm also an optimist in some ways. I'm also a realist, so I would like to believe that we're not that anymore. And that was something that was common when I was little in the 80s. But I feel like we've moved beyond that. So anyway, that was the end of this series, 18 episodes. For those who are unaware, I recorded them all in the longest of stretches, literally 5 hours of me talking into this microphone. My throat is sore, probably going to be bleeding later. I'm going to have to wash out with salt water or something. But I do want to remind you that a good voter is an informed voter who can think for themselves. Never allow your history of just basically following the political, I'm checkmarking every Democrat, or I'm checkmarking every Republican, or yes to every social. You need to read. You need to study. You need to know what you're voting for. Also, just a reminder, do not forget to check out my previous videos on this channel, as well as like and subscribe. I don't know what the next series will be, but as I said in the previous video, and a few previous videos before that, I do want to take people's questions and try to answer them. I can only give my own opinion unless I really feel like researching something, which depending on if I feel like my answer is fleshed out, I might, but we'll see how that goes. But again, thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe.